Every single one of us is a work in progress. Confidence and growth are not destinations, they are daily practices. The small things we do repeatedly become the foundation of who we are. We often think confidence comes from achievement or from being the loudest in the room, but true confidence is built in silence, in the daily habits that shape our mindset, in the choices that no one else sees. Growth doesn't happen because time passes, it happens because we choose to invest in it. Imagine your life as a tree. If you water it consistently, nurture it daily, and remove the weeds, it will grow strong and bear fruit. But if you neglect it, it withers. Confidence and growth follow the same principle. They demand daily attention. Here are 10 daily improvements you can adopt to multiply your confidence and growth. Start with gratitude. Each morning, list 3 things you're grateful for. Gratitude shifts your perspective and roots you in abundance instead of scarcity. Embrace discomfort. Do one small thing each day that feels uncomfortable, whether it's speaking up in a meeting or trying something new. Confidence is not built in comfort zones, but in the stretch zones. Listen more deeply. Confidence grows when you stop focusing on what to say next and start truly hearing others. Growth is about learning, and listening is the fastest path to wisdom. Keep promises to yourself. Every time you commit and follow through, even on the smallest promise, you reinforce trust in yourself. That trust becomes confidence. Read or learn something daily. Feed your mind with knowledge, stories, or skills that help you see the world differently. Growth begins in the mind before it shows in life. Celebrate small wins. Don't wait for big milestones to feel proud. Acknowledge progress daily. It fuels momentum and builds confidence naturally. Practice reflection. Spend a few minutes each night reviewing your actions, your words, your choices. Reflection is how experience turns into growth. Surround yourself with positivity. Choose people, content, and environments that lift you higher. Confidence grows when you're in spaces that reinforce belief rather than doubt. Move your body, exercise, walk, stretch, anything. A strong body gives rise to a strong mind, and confidence is often a physical state before it becomes a mental one. Speak kindly to yourself. The words you repeat internally shape your reality. Replace self-criticism with encouragement, and you'll notice your confidence multiplying naturally. These daily improvements are simple, but their impact is profound. If practiced consistently, they won't just build your confidence, they will transform the way you see yourself and the way the world sees you. Growth is not about speed, it's about direction. And confidence is not about pretending to be strong, it's about building a foundation of habits that make you unshakably strong. So I challenge you, choose one improvement today, practice it tomorrow, and watch as your confidence and growth multiply, not by chance, but by design. 5 keynotes of the speech. Confidence is built in small daily habits, not grand achievements. Growth requires intentional investment, not just the passage of time. Discomfort is the training ground for real confidence. Keeping promises to yourself creates trust and self-belief. Reflection and self-kindness are essential for long-term growth. Confidence is often misunderstood as something you either have or don't have, as if it's a genetic trait that some people are born with while others are not. But the truth is, confidence is rarely the product of a single defining moment. It is not something you wake up with one day after landing a big job, giving a speech, or achieving a milestone. Those events might give a temporary rush, but true, lasting confidence is something that is carefully built brick by brick, through the daily habits we practice when no one else is watching. It is these small, seemingly insignificant actions that accumulate over time and form the foundation of unshakable self-belief. Think of confidence like a muscle. No one becomes strong overnight by lifting a heavy weight once. Strength is the result of consistent training, repetition, and gradual progress. The same is true for confidence. Every time you follow through on a small habit, waking up when your alarm rings, completing the tasks you said you would, keeping promises to yourself, you're adding a rep to your confidence muscle. With enough repetition, these small actions begin to rewire how you see yourself. You stop viewing yourself as someone who hopes to be capable and start seeing yourself as someone who can be trusted to take action and follow through. Daily habits carry a power that is easy to underestimate because they feel too ordinary. Writing in a journal for 5 minutes, showing up on time, reading a few pages of a book, or speaking kindly to yourself may not seem transformative in the moment. Yet the compounding effect of those choices is undeniable. Confidence is not built in grand gestures. It is built in those moments when you could let yourself off the hook but choose not to. It is built in the decision to keep pushing through discomfort, even when no one is there to applaud you. Over time, those decisions become proof to yourself that you are capable, disciplined, and trustworthy. That proof, not external validation, becomes the backbone of confidence. Another aspect to understand is that daily habits do more than create structure. They shape your identity. When you choose to practice small positive behaviors consistently, you are casting votes for the type of person you want to become. If you go for a walk each morning, you are not just exercising, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who values health and discipline. If you dedicate time every night to reflection, you are not just reviewing your day, you are becoming the kind of person who learns, adapts, and grows. When you repeatedly act in alignment with the person you want to be, your self-perception transforms, and with it, your confidence naturally expands. The danger of waiting for big wins to feel confident is that they are few and far between. Life doesn't always present us with grand stages where we get to prove ourselves. If confidence depends only on rare external events, then it becomes fragile and inconsistent. But when confidence is tied to daily habits, it becomes steady and resilient. You can control whether you show up, whether you try, whether you take small actions every day. That control provides a sense of stability, and stability breeds confidence. It shifts confidence from being an outcome to being a practice. Even small acts of self-discipline are powerful in this way. Think about something as simple as making your bed in the morning. To an outsider, it's trivial. But to you, it's the first victory of the day. It sets the tone, reminding you that you have the ability to create order, to start with intention, to keep a commitment, even if it's only to yourself. Multiply this by dozens of small acts throughout the day, and suddenly your life becomes filled with proof of your reliability. Confidence doesn't emerge from saying, I will do big things someday. It comes from the quiet evidence of all the small things you already do consistently. It's also worth acknowledging that confidence built on daily habits is far more sustainable than confidence built on external recognition. Compliments fade, applause stops. Promotions are temporary, but the knowledge that you are someone who shows up every single day is permanent. It doesn't matter if no one else sees it. The respect you have for yourself becomes unshakable, and it doesn't depend on the changing opinions of others. That's the kind of confidence that lasts, the kind that doesn't waver when challenges arise. Over time, as these small habits accumulate, something remarkable happens. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. Instead, you simply live as someone who already embodies confidence. Others notice it not because you boast or demand attention, but because your presence radiates consistency and strength. They see it in the way you carry yourself, in the calmness of your voice, in the way you handle both success and failure, and all of it traces back to the simple, almost invisible choices you made daily. Confidence, therefore, isn't a gift reserved for a lucky few. It is available to anyone willing to invest in the discipline of daily improvements. Every small promise kept, every habit practiced, every action aligned with who you want to be, slowly but surely builds the foundation of a person who trusts themselves. That trust becomes belief, that belief becomes confidence, and that confidence, multiplied over time, transforms not just how you see yourself, but how you navigate the world. Embracing discomfort is one of the most powerful yet challenging practices for building confidence and achieving growth. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort, seeking out convenience, ease, and safety. While there is nothing inherently wrong with comfort, the danger lies in letting it dictate our choices. Comfort zones are familiar, predictable, and safe, but they are also limiting. Growth never happens in the realm of certainty. True confidence is born when you deliberately step into spaces where you are stretched, where you are uncertain, and where failure is a possibility. Every act of courage begins with discomfort, and every layer of confidence is built on facing it rather than running from it. When you do something uncomfortable, you are essentially telling yourself, I can handle this. That simple message, repeated through daily actions, strengthens your internal belief system. For example, speaking up in a meeting when your instinct tells you to stay silent can feel terrifying. But once you do it, you prove to yourself that your voice matters, that you are capable of contributing, and that nothing catastrophic happens when you step into the spotlight. The next time becomes easier, not because the situation is different, but because you are different. The act of doing something uncomfortable shifts your self-image from someone who avoids risk to someone who can take it on. Discomfort also reshapes your relationship with failure. In comfort zones, failure is the enemy, something to avoid at all costs. But when you lean into discomfort regularly, failure becomes less frightening. You start to see it as feedback, as part of the process of learning. Athletes understand this well. Every new skill they attempt feels awkward at first. Every training session brings pain. Every repetition is laced with discomfort. But it is through those very moments of struggle that their strength is built. The same applies to life. Whether it is learning a new language, starting a business, or having a difficult conversation, the awkwardness, the mistakes, and the initial discomfort are not signs you are failing. They are evidence you are growing. It is important to recognize that discomfort doesn't always mean monumental acts of bravery. It is not about leaping out of an airplane or making life-altering decisions every day. Often it is in the smaller, consistent choices that the real transformation happens. Sending that email you have been avoiding, striking up a conversation with a stranger, volunteering for a project that intimidates you, or saying no when you are used to saying yes. All of these are acts of discomfort. Individually, they may seem minor, but together they stretch the boundaries of what you believe you are capable of. Over time, the things that once terrified you become routine, and your confidence grows in proportion to the size of your expanded comfort zone. What makes discomfort powerful is that it exposes you to uncertainty, and uncertainty is where resilience is forged. When you are unsure of the outcome but take action anyway, you discover capacities within yourself that you never would have known otherwise. You realize you can adapt, you can figure things out, you can stand tall even when the ground feels shaky. This realization is the essence of confidence, not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward despite it. The more often you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, the less power fear has over you. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions and instead create progress in imperfect ones. Embracing discomfort also sets you apart in a world where most people cling to ease. In professional environments, the individuals who take on the tough assignments, who volunteer for the unknown, and who embrace challenges are the ones who grow the fastest. They are the ones who earn respect, not because they never make mistakes, but because they demonstrate courage and adaptability. In personal life, those who embrace discomfort build deeper relationships because they are willing to have hard conversations, to express vulnerability, and to confront what others avoid. In every area of life, confidence grows not in the absence of discomfort, but in the deliberate choice to face it. There is also an element of momentum that comes with this practice. The first uncomfortable step is always the hardest. The fear of judgment, the anxiety of the unknown, the resistance to leaving what is familiar, all of it feels overwhelming at first. But once you take that step, you gain momentum. What felt impossible becomes manageable. The second step feels lighter, the third feels natural, and before you know it, you are standing in a space you once thought you could never reach. That is how growth compounds one uncomfortable step at a time. Over time, embracing discomfort redefines how you see challenges. Instead of being threats, they become opportunities. Instead of paralyzing you, they energize you. You begin to welcome them because you know that every challenge faced is a chance to expand who you are. Confidence no longer becomes about pretending you are fearless, but about proving to yourself daily that fear does not control you. That proof is priceless. It builds a kind of quiet strength that no title, award, or recognition can replicate. It builds a confidence rooted in the knowledge that no matter what comes your way, you can rise to meet it. Listening more deeply is one of the most underestimated practices when it comes to building confidence and driving personal growth. Many people confuse confidence with the ability to speak loudly, dominate conversations, or have the most persuasive argument in the room. But true confidence is not about constantly asserting your voice. It is about having the humility and security to quiet your mind and give full attention to others. When you listen deeply, you are not just gathering information, you are showing respect, you are learning, and you are building a stronger foundation for both self-belief and understanding of the world. Growth comes from learning, and the greatest source of learning is often hidden in the words, perspectives, and experiences of those around us. Listening deeply requires presence. It is not about waiting for your turn to speak or rehearsing a response while someone else is talking. It is about silencing the inner voice that constantly wants to add, argue, or prove itself, right? When you commit to really hearing someone, you open yourself to a world that is richer than your own. You absorb ideas you may not have considered, you notice emotions behind the words, and you begin to connect on a deeper human level. This act alone can transform how others perceive you. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel heard. Confidence grows in these moments because you no longer need to push for attention. Attention is naturally given to those who listen well. Deep listening also has the power to shape decision-making. When you take in more perspectives and resist the urge to jump to conclusions, you gain clarity and wisdom. Leaders who listen carefully make better decisions, not because they always have the answers, but because they take the time to understand the full picture. On a personal level, the same principle applies. If you listen to feedback rather than dismissing it, you grow. If you pay attention to the advice of those who have walked a path before you, you gain shortcuts to wisdom that you could never achieve alone. Growth is not just about experience. It is about reflecting on the experiences of others and integrating their lessons into your own journey. Listening deeply also strengthens relationships. Confidence is not built in isolation. It is often reinforced by the trust and respect we earn from others. When people feel that you truly listen, they feel valued. They open up more, they collaborate better, and they extend trust over time. These deeper connections create a network of support and opportunity that elevates your own growth. Whether it is in friendships, professional environments, or family life, listening is the foundation of influence. People follow those who hear them, not those who simply talk over them. This subtle but powerful truth is why listening is such an essential daily practice for confidence. There is also a personal transformation that happens when you practice deep listening. You begin to notice how much noise exists in your own thoughts. Often our lack of confidence comes from the stories we tell ourselves, self-doubt, overthinking, the constant replay of past mistakes. When you train yourself to listen outwardly with focus, you also cultivate the ability to quiet your internal noise. You create space for clarity. That inner stillness becomes a form of self-confidence because you are no longer a prisoner to your own doubts. Instead, you learn to filter through the noise and focus on what truly matters. Listening deeply also helps you master empathy, and empathy is a key driver of both confidence and growth. When you put yourself in someone else's shoes and really absorb their perspective, you expand your understanding of the world. You realize that your experiences are not the only ones that matter, and this realization broadens your perspective. A broader perspective naturally increases confidence because you are better equipped to navigate complex situations. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond with understanding. Instead of fearing the unknown, you lean on your awareness of different viewpoints. Growth comes when you stop seeing the world only through your own lens and begin to embrace its complexity through others' experiences. The habit of listening deeply can also teach patience. And patience is another silent ingredient of confidence. In a world where everyone is rushing to speak, the one who takes a pause and listens stands out. That patience communicates control, self-assurance, and thoughtfulness. It shows that you are not insecure about filling silence or proving yourself at every moment. You are confident enough to let others speak, to absorb, and to respond with intention rather than impulse. This practice not only builds respect, but reinforces your own sense of composure. Confidence often comes across not in the loudness of your voice, but in the steadiness of your presence. Perhaps the most powerful part of listening deeply is the personal growth it sparks from within. When you are open to truly hearing others, you are exposed to ideas that challenge your assumptions. Some of those challenges may feel uncomfortable, but they are necessary for growth. Confidence does not come from surrounding yourself with only those who agree with you. It comes from engaging with different, even opposing perspectives and learning how to stand firm or adapt when needed. Growth comes from the humility of saying, I don't know everything, and confidence comes from the strength of saying, but I am willing to learn. Listening is therefore not a passive act. It is an active discipline, a choice to put aside ego and embrace humility. It is a daily practice that builds trust, deepens understanding, sharpens decision-making, and nurtures empathy. Each time you practice it, you reinforce a sense of confidence rooted not in the need to dominate, but in the ability to connect. And in those connections lies the very essence of growth. Keeping promises to yourself is one of the most transformative practices you can adopt for building lasting confidence and fueling continuous growth. Many people underestimate the weight of the commitments they make to themselves because they seem small or private. If you promise someone else you'll show up at a certain time, you're likely to do everything in your power to keep that promise. But when it comes to yourself, it is easy to make excuses, snoozing the alarm you swore you'd wake up to, skipping the workout you said you'd complete, postponing the project you wanted to start. Each time this happens, a subtle but powerful message is sent to your subconscious. I can't trust myself. Over time, these broken promises chip away at your confidence because confidence at its core is the belief that you can rely on yourself. When you consistently keep the promises you make to yourself, even the smallest ones, you are building a track record of self-trust. Confidence doesn't come from wishing or hoping, it comes from proof. And the most important proof you can give yourself is evidence that you follow through on what you say you will do. Each kept promise becomes another brick in the foundation of self-belief. For example, if you tell yourself you'll read for 10 minutes every night before bed and you actually do it, you are strengthening not just your knowledge, but your integrity. You are reinforcing the message that your word to yourself matters. Over time, this simple act compounds into a strong sense of self-confidence because you no longer question whether you can rely on your own discipline. It's important to understand that these promises do not need to be grand or life-changing. In fact, the smaller and more consistent they are, the more powerful they become. Deciding to drink more water each day, to journal for 5 minutes, to pause and reflect before reacting in anger, or to walk outside for 10 minutes are small commitments, but they are symbolic of something larger. They represent the discipline to follow through. When you repeatedly follow through, your brain begins to associate your identity with reliability. You start to see yourself not as someone who occasionally succeeds, but as someone who honors commitments. That identity shift is what fuels real confidence. The opposite is also true. Each time you break a promise to yourself, you erode that trust. Imagine a friend who constantly cancels plans at the last minute or repeatedly goes back on their word. Eventually, you stop trusting them. The same principle applies internally. When you tell yourself you'll do something but fail to follow through, you create a gap between intention and action, and that gap breeds self-doubt. Self-doubt is nothing more than the accumulation of broken promises. The good news is this cycle can be reversed the moment you decide that your word to yourself carries weight. By beginning to keep even one small promise, you can start rebuilding that trust and with it, your confidence. Keeping promises to yourself also reinforces discipline, and discipline is the backbone of growth. Motivation can fluctuate and emotions can shift from day to day. But when you have trained yourself to honor commitments regardless of mood, you build resilience. For example, if you promised yourself you'd write 1 page every morning and you follow through even on the days you feel tired or uninspired, you are strengthening not just your writing habit, but your ability to act beyond fleeting feelings. That kind of discipline spills into every area of life. It makes you dependable, consistent, and capable of achieving long-term goals. Growth becomes inevitable because you are not relying on temporary motivation, but on the solid foundation of self-discipline. Another powerful effect of keeping promises to yourself is the way it changes how others perceive you. Confidence is not only internal, it radiates outward. People are drawn to those who are reliable, who embody consistency, and who follow through. When you keep commitments to yourself, you naturally extend that same reliability to others. Colleagues, friends, and family notice the difference. They begin to trust you more, respect you more, and rely on you more. Ironically, the act of keeping promises to yourself, which may feel private and personal, becomes one of the strongest signals of integrity and leadership that others recognize. It also helps reduce the fear of failure. Many people are paralyzed by the thought of not succeeding because they do not trust their ability to get back up if things go wrong. But when you have a track record of keeping promises to yourself, you know that regardless of the outcome, you will show up again tomorrow. That assurance is the essence of confidence. It is not about guaranteeing success every time, but about trusting yourself to be consistent enough to keep moving forward. Failures no longer feel permanent because you know you won't abandon yourself when things get hard. Over time, the simple act of keeping promises becomes the foundation for achieving bigger goals. If you can trust yourself with the small, Daily commitments, you will naturally extend that trust to larger commitments. Climbing a mountain begins with taking one step and trusting that you will keep taking the next one. Writing a book begins with the promise of writing one page. Building a strong, confident, and growth-oriented life begins with honoring the small commitments that most people dismiss as unimportant. Each step is proof that you can rely on yourself, and that proof builds a quiet, unshakable confidence that no one can take away. Reflection and self-kindness are often overlooked when it comes to confidence and growth, yet they are some of the most essential practices to sustain both. In a world where productivity is glorified and business is often mistaken for success, people rarely pause to reflect on their choices, their actions, and the lessons hidden in their daily experiences. Without reflection, life becomes a blur of activity without meaning. Growth is not guaranteed simply by moving forward. It comes from looking back, learning, and carrying those lessons into the future. Reflection is the bridge between experience and wisdom. It allows you to stop and ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? And what can I improve tomorrow? These quiet moments of awareness transform ordinary days into stepping stones for personal evolution. Reflection alone, however, is not enough. Without self-kindness, reflection can turn into harsh self-criticism, which erodes confidence instead of building it. Many people use reflection as a tool to berate themselves for what they didn't do or to replay their mistakes until guilt consumes them. This is destructive because true growth is never born from shame. It is born from compassion, the ability to acknowledge shortcomings while also affirming your worth. Self-kindness ensures that reflection becomes constructive instead of crushing. When you reflect with kindness, you can say to yourself, I didn't handle that as well as I could have, but I am learning and I will do better tomorrow. That perspective keeps confidence intact because it reminds you that mistakes do not define your identity. They are simply part of your progress. Confidence grows when reflection and self-kindness work together. Imagine ending each day with a simple practice, writing down 3 things you did well, 2 things you could improve, and 1 lesson you want to carry into tomorrow. In this process, reflection gives you clarity and self-kindness keeps you from spiraling into negativity. Over time, this ritual builds self-awareness, which is the foundation of authentic confidence. You know your strengths, you acknowledge your weaknesses, and most importantly, you believe in your ability to keep improving. That belief that you are capable of learning and evolving is what allows you to face challenges with calmness and courage. Reflection also prevents you from repeating the same mistakes over and over. Without it, you might find yourself in the same frustrating situations, wondering why nothing changes. But with reflection, you see patterns. You notice that your lack of preparation caused anxiety before a meeting, or that your impatience strained a conversation, or that your avoidance of a task created unnecessary stress. Once you see these patterns, you can make conscious choices to break them. Every time you do, you grow. Confidence comes not from pretending to be perfect, but from knowing you are capable of learning from imperfection. Self-kindness is equally powerful because it shapes your inner dialogue. The way you speak to yourself matters more than the way anyone else speaks to you. Harsh self-talk, phrases like, I'm not good enough, I always mess up, or I'll never change, slowly erodes confidence and traps you in cycles of self-doubt. But when you practice self-kindness, you replace those words with encouragement. You remind yourself that progress is more important than perfection, that every mistake is a teacher, and that your worth is not conditional on flawless performance. This inner voice becomes your strongest ally, a constant reminder that you are capable of moving forward even when the road is difficult. There's also a practical benefit to combining reflection with self-kindness. It helps you stay consistent. Many people abandon their goals not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they are too harsh on themselves when they stumble. They miss a workout, and instead of forgiving themselves and continuing, they spiral into guilt and quit altogether. They make a mistake at work, and instead of learning from it, they label themselves a failure and stop trying. Self-kindness breaks this destructive cycle. It gives you the resilience to recover quickly and keep moving, which is the very essence of growth. By forgiving yourself, you create space for persistence, and persistence is where confidence thrives. Reflection and self-kindness also deepen your sense of authenticity. Confidence is not about pretending to be flawless. It is about being at peace with who you are. When you reflect honestly, you see yourself clearly, the strengths, the struggles, and the progress. When you add self-kindness, you learn to accept yourself fully while still striving to become better. This balance allows you to show up in the world with authenticity, and authenticity is magnetic. People trust those who are real, those who do not hide behind arrogance or self-deprecation, but instead embody quiet confidence rooted in self-awareness and compassion. Over time, the daily practice of reflection and self-kindness builds a cycle of growth that feeds itself. Reflection helps you learn. Self-kindness helps you stay motivated. Together, they create a steady rhythm of progress where each day becomes an opportunity to improve without the weight of unrealistic expectations. Confidence is no longer about proving yourself to others. It becomes about trusting yourself to keep learning, to keep trying, and to keep moving forward with grace. Growth is no longer a pressure. It becomes a natural result of living with awareness and compassion. Confidence and growth are not mysteries reserved for a select few. They are the natural rewards of consistent daily choices. Each small habit, each moment of courage, each act of self-awareness is a seed planted in the soil of your character. With time, those seeds grow into a foundation so strong that challenges no longer break you, they build you. Confidence isn't about proving to the world that you are fearless, it's about proving to yourself, day after day, that you can be trusted to keep going, to keep learning, and to keep rising above comfort and self-doubt. Growth isn't about racing toward perfection, it's about embracing the journey of becoming one deliberate choice at a time. If you choose gratitude, if you lean into discomfort, if you learn to listen, if you honor your promises, and if you reflect with kindness, you will not only tank your confidence and growth, you will transform the way you see yourself and the way the world sees you. The power is already in your hands. The question is whether you will use it daily. Because the future you're striving for is not built in some distant tomorrow, it is being built right now, in the small actions you choose today.